PowerPlayChess, brought to you in association with Kagi. I'm going to show you a game featuring the Rolling Stones, the greatest pawn storm in the world of chess. Yep, it's another Sicilian Kalashnikov for your delectation. There we go, let's put the opening on the board. And yes, this features a fascinating endgame with pawns rolling down the board. Yeah, you know, when I wrote my Sicilian Kalashnikov course for Chessable, I highlighted various strategic themes, and one of these I called a steamroller pawns. So when you get this pawn structure, and you get these pawns like this, which is very common when there's an exchange on d5, these pawns often roll down the board. I call it the steamroller, but I should have called them the Rolling Stones. So we're going to see a game sent in to me by Andreas Hauer. And he wrote a really nice email to me. He said, let's go back to the starting position. In addition to the always great YouTube videos, we are currently very impressed by the Kalashnikov course. It's never been so easy to play the Sicilian. When he says we, he's referring to himself and his son, who both play the Kalashnikov. I would like to send you an example from my current tournament practice. So this was played in the Echternach Rapid tournament in Luxembourg not so long ago in June. And he says the themes are the breakout bishop and little stones are rolling in an endgame. Yeah, well, let's just call them the Rolling Stones. I missed the trick. I should have called the steamroller pawns the Rolling Stones. Anyway, let's see how this all pans out in the game. So this is a game Gilles Gleser, who I think is from France, and Andreas Hauer, who's from Germany. So it's one of the main lines of the Kalashnikov. You can see how this knight gets pushed around the board, and bishop e7 is the move that I recommend in my Chessable course, and there's the book version as well, don't forget that. Knight c4, b5, let's push the knight. So this, you can see the black has these nice pawns, which can be a very nice minority attack, as we've seen. And previously we've considered g3 in recent videos, and also bishop d3. But white plays knight d5. So, I mean, how many moves has this knight made? It's extraordinary. I think it's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 moves with that knight. And you can see that basically black has a lead in development. So castles is the move that I recommend in the course. I don't think there's any need to straighten out these knights. Bishop e2 played. And yeah, again, this is the move that I recommend in the book. I think it's a good move. You know, why not hassle that bishop? It can be very nice to take that bishop. White exchanges on f6 and plays the second knight into d5. And Andreas plays the typical Kalashnikov move, the breakout bishop, bishop g5. That bishop isn't very good because it's blocked in by that pawn. So why not exchange off that, well, good bishop on, potentially good bishop on c1 with the breakout bishop. In fact, there's another way to play this. One could just exchange on e2. It's nice to get rid of that light squared bishop and play bishop e6 to put some pressure here. And if queen d3, then rook c8 and bishop h4. And yeah, we got the Freddy attack. I think this is quite nice. There's a lot of pressure on these light squares. That's just another way to play the position. The good old Freddy attack. Okay, so the breakout bishop, very nice. And bishop b7, good. Same thing, let's put some pressure on the knight on d5. c3 played, and this works out perfectly. So Andreas manages to take that bishop anyway and exchange on d5. So this is a really typical structure where black succeeds in exchanging the knight on d5. And we have this lovely pawn majority on the king side, 4 against 3. And this is where the Rolling Stones come into play. The f and e pawns roll down the board, sometimes just getting a really nice attack, but also, as we will see, it can be really nice in the endgame. So bishop c1, rook c1, and black has quite a choice here actually. Andreas played a very pragmatic, sensible move, queen d7, just connecting the rooks. You could actually play f5 straight away, because although white does have a little bit of counterplay, in fact, I think this is still quite a nice way to play. Maybe queen f6 is coming, maybe just queen e7 and rook here. I mean, it's quite double-edged, but I always like it when black has counter chances against the king. Black has the initiative here. That's unpleasant for white. That king doesn't have the cover. So that's just another way of playing. But queen d7 looks very sensible to me. c4. And now you can see that actually black has a kind of minority attack going here. It'd be nice to weaken these pawns with this one pawn. But also the d5 pawn can be weak too. So structurally, I think black is doing quite well here. Rook d1, defending the pawn, and rook c8. Yeah, let's just exploit the pin. b3 and rook c5. So, black is overtaking the initiative here. And this is nice, a5. So, this could be a very nice minority attack to break up these pawns. And you can see that structurally, black is doing really well here. There's that, compact 5 pawns, but white's structure is weakened. And white couldn't stand the tension and exchanged here. Don't need to. I think this simplifies black's task. But just went for the endgame. And there's no doubt in my mind that, if anyone is better in this position, it is black. There we go. The Rolling Stones start their journey down the board. Now, rook and pawn endgames are notoriously difficult to win. Even sometimes if you're a pawn down, you can hold a draw. And I suspect with best play, white should hold this position. But it's not easy. And white is certainly under pressure here. It's very hard to know what the best way to play this for black is. Andreas played king e7 and he was critical of this move afterwards, but I think it's logical to want to perhaps defend against this potential push. But one could also play rook b8, looking to get counterplay straight away. That's another possibility. Another possibility is a4. That can be nice to sort of drop this pawn here. So there are lots of ways to play. I don't think king e7 is unreasonable. He points out that perhaps white should play rook c3 to maybe get some counterplay here. Okay, but it's not so easy to play precisely. Instead, white plays king d3, which looks very logical to defend this pawn. But now rook b8. And this king performs a really nice function on e7. And if c5, white tries to simplify, rook b5, that's the issue. That's why the king is misplaced on d3, because, if c6, then you can take that one with check. And the king comes across to block that pawn. That's the issue. So that's why it was actually, quite cunning to play the king to e7. So the rook gets this important open file, rook c2. And now here we go, the Rolling Stones, g5, h5. Let's just push them as far as possible. And here, Andreas played a4, which I think is reasonable. But he points out that h4 is a better move, and I agree. Once these pawns are fixed, then this is very unpleasant for white, because the rook is going to invade, and there's always the possibility to switch over here and also to play the pawn to a3 and maybe rook here at some moment. And this is a potent majority. Instead, a4 played, but I mean, this is understandable. Here, white had a chance to play g4, and things aren't so bad. That just kind of simplifies the position a little bit, exchanging pawns. King c3. Again, h4 is possible, but a3 I think is not bad. You know, this can be quite nasty. King d3. And here, Andreas misses, I think, a really logical move and a way that makes sense of all, you know, black's advances on the king side. He played g4, but he could have played rook b2. So, you know, this is very hard to live with, obviously. You know, there could be black playing e4. The point is this, that in the pawn endgame, black can now convert a pawn on the king side. So the king just doesn't have time to take this pawn and then rush back. So for example, if king takes b2, you can exchange and play g4, and yeah, this is just too quick basically. F takes here. I mean, well, that doesn't matter how you do it basically. And coming back to this position, yeah, if f takes, you play f4. That's the trick. And in this way, you can promote a pawn. The king is just too far away. And the king perfectly placed on e7 to stop any breakthrough with e5 or c5. So rook b2 would have been the really logical way. You know, the realization of black's rolling stones strategy. Instead, g4 was played. Okay, this is a rapid play game. It all gets a bit random. Went like this. And then f4. Wow, this gets exciting. I mean, this is a nice pawn chain, but, you know, white has serious counterplay now. And this should end up as a draw. So that drags the king away. Yeah, d6 should be a draw here. But, okay, let's just zip to the end of the game, in fact. Andreas ended up winning this one, and yeah, one of the stones goes through. King comes back to blockade the pawn, and rook b2. That was the final move of the game. So yes, black is just playing a2 and rook b1, and one of them goes through. The Rolling Stones get there in the end. I'm going to be using this one again, I can assure you. So, yeah, congratulations to Andreas Hauer for winning this game, and thank you for sending it to me. If you've played a nice game with the Kalashnikov, do send it to me. You can contact me through my website, www.danielking.biz. And don't forget, the Chessable course is available. I'll put the link in the description, or if you prefer it in book format, you can get it directly from New in Chess. Again, I'll put the link in the comments and the video description. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's go, the Rolling Stones.